Welcome to the stream. Today we're going to be doing character remapping. I'm going to teach you how to do that with Club Copy. We are going to use a bit of graph paper, and I've got this PDF here for you to take a look at. We're going to show how the characters on your Compy screen are graphics, and you can change them. And you can change them with code, because in computers it turns out everything is code. Everything is numbers, including the graphics themselves. And so we'll get into that. So let me just show you what I've got here to share. So this is what the graph paper looks like, and it is set up for a 4-character graphic. So you can make a picture out of 4 characters stacked 2 by 2, right? And the way this works is you will draw a picture by filling in these boxes, and then you will translate those filled in boxes to numbers, and then you'll add up the numbers on each row, put them into these little lines here, and then when you're done, you can copy those numbers down to here, and you'll have a little program that you can type in and remap your characters, and then you can see your picture on the screen. So this is, before we had graphical editors, this was how a lot of people made their artwork for games and stuff. Is they had graph paper and they would just plot the pixels and then get the number values for them. So to make my drawing effort easier, what I did was I printed out 4 pieces of this paper because I wanted to make a gigantic picture. I wanted to make not a 2 by 2. I wanted to make a 4 by 4, right? So I printed out 4 sheets of paper and folded them and taped them together. So you can see here, I used masking tape because it's easy to peel off, and I folded and I carefully taped, and when I was done, I had my little drawing sheet, right? So you can do the same thing. You can print out that PDF as many times as you want, and then you can draw on it. So what I wanted to draw was my mascot. I'm putting together a help system for Club Compy right now. You can visit it. It's a work in progress. But if you type in help, then you can get into this program, use your arrow keys, and scroll up and down. But what I was thinking was, hey, wouldn't it be cool to use remapped characters and put them in here, put the mascot in. So my mascot's name is Kid Compy, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put Kid Compy into my help program, right? So here is my first stab at a Kid Compy graphic. My numbers here are the starting character codes for our bitmaps, right? 128 is these 4, then 132 is these 4, then 136 is these 4, and then 140 is these 4. So we'll get into it, and you'll get to see these numbers. I'm going to type this program in. I haven't actually typed it in yet. So I'll type this program in, and then you can take a look. And you can print out that PDF and make your own bitmaps and maybe make your own programs. That would be kind of fun. So I think now is a good time to watch some cartoons, and I'll start typing in my programs. All right, so Here goes.
Tonight is amateur night. Next we have...
She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes along. She'll be coming round the mountain when she...
Next we have...
She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes along.
Next we have a talented artist, Maestro Padawisky.
Give up!
Oh, look at my feet. They're all crooked and everything.
Oh, hee la da 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 la da 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 la da
It's a killer. It's a killer.
Now we have the world's smallest entertainer. Teeny tiny, teensy, tinny, tinny, Tim. Big MacPoodle and his trained dog act.
Roll over. Play dead. Sit up. Speak. Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, from the rock-bound coast of Maine to the sun-kissed shores of California. That's a good one. Boy, that sure gets me. To be or not to be. To be or not to be. To be or not to be. That is
the balcony scene from Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Here, my love, in the bushes at the bottom of the garden.
Good night. Good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow. Really it is.
Oh, my darling, my only one. I love you more than anything. This is killing me. Oh, Juliet, my love, let me thrill again to the soft, sweet tones of your voice.
And now, folks.
Cheer me coming round the mountain when she comes. Oh, cheer me coming round the mountain.
And now, folks, let's see who wins the cup.
Alrighty, coming back. So I I typed in my programs, but I think I typed in the numbers from the pages a little bit out of order. Let me show you what I got here. So you can see I've got like the left-hand side. It looks like I have a typo too. Maybe one of these numbers is wrong. And then like I got the feet at the wrong spot. So I have some redoing to do, fix my typos, or maybe I added up the numbers wrong on my pieces of paper. So I'll debug all that. But you can see my little characters coming to life here. So here's what the program looks like so far. And man, that's a lot of numbers, right? That is a lot of numbers. But here's my little guy. He's there. So you see, all the graphics you see on your computer screen are just numbers. And if you understand how to encode those numbers, they're codes. If you understand how to code them, then you can control your computer. You can do stuff with it. So that's pretty exciting. So here is what it looks like to print them out. So the shorthand, if you have like a code for a character that is less than 256, then the code for that is a backslash and then 3 digits. It has to be 3, I believe. Maybe we can get away with it. Let's see if we can print an A, 65. without doing the 3 digits. Run that. Yeah, okay, that works. So if you put a backslash and numbers up to, well, I wonder if we can go higher than that, but for as far as I know, up to 256, maybe up to 999. Who knows? Maybe that will work. You can put any sort of character down by its code. Okay, so this is called escaping. And when you put a backslash in on a lot of programming languages, when you're typing out a string, escape is essentially like do something special with the stuff that follows. And so I've got an escape code for characters that are low down in the range. These numbers can actually go up to 65,535. But with this shorthand, you can only go up to, I guess, 999. Well, let's try it. I don't even know. 999. Does that work? Maybe not. Does not look like it works. But I bet it goes up to 255. Yep. There it is right there. That's 255 right there. Checkerboard pattern. Would you like to see all of the characters? We can do it. Let me just save this. So if you want to save your work, you say save. And this saves onto your local desktop. This does not save to the cloud. I don't want your files. Just, but that said, you can lose data. So we'll give you a way to back up in the future, but right now the site is sort of new, so we'll figure that out. But if you want to load, you can say load and the name, and if you want to list your files, you can say list folder. So that is, there's my program from last week. Okay, cool. So let me reset here. When you reset, you lose all your program that was in there, but that's what I wanted to do. So I'll make a little program real quick that shows you what all the characters look like. It's kind of fun. For I equals 0, and then up to 256. So it's not going to hit 256. It'll do all the numbers up to 256. So it'll stop at 255, which is what I want to do. And I will do print to, I think it's to char I. Let's try that. Yep. So those are all the kind of the built-ins, the built-in characters. There's a bunch of characters much higher up that do special. You can use them in your escape codes, but these are sort of the standard printed characters. So you got your uppercase, you got your lowercase. This is number 65, and I just happened to remember that the letter A is 65, but there's lowercase a, and I think that is another 32 characters away. So what would that be? 97? Let's try it. Print 97. Does that make sense? I got it. Woo! So lots of fun stuff you can do just with the built-in characters, right? We got little card symbols, so you can make a card game. And we've got one of these. I kind of remembered. Looks like a spaceship, like this one right here, Omega or something, is that Tau? I don't remember. Smiley face, right? So there's a lot of fun characters in here. And this is called Kidski, like ASCII, but it's for kids. So it's kind of fun. Anyways, why don't we watch some more cartoons? I'll fix up our Kid Compy program. I'll get it nice and buttoned up. And then if there's time, I'll show you that you can animate. You can do animations with character graphics. Because whenever you remap them, the next time the screen draws, you get the changed graphics automatically. You don't have to do any other work. Just change the graphics, and the system is live, and it'll just change your characters, right? It's all codes, my friends, all codes. The whole thing, from top to bottom, is numbers. It's all codes, and when you hear people say they're coders, that just means they work with numbers. That's all. So let's watch some more cartoons, and I'll see if I can fix up my program.
Today, 'cause Abba Hassel is on his way. Go in hiding, when I go riding, there's me and my 40 thieves. Your wives and children and money too, I steal them from you before I'm through. I'm out gunning, so start in running, from me and my 40 thieves. Abu Hassel. Abu Hassel! My gang's the roughest, but I'm the toughest, and that's no lie. Abu Hassel. Abu Hassel. You've got to hand it to that band, 'cause I'm a terrible guy. Abu Hassel. Abu Hassel.
Left guard, right tackle, stand, arms, hip. Vice versa. As you were, attention, right up.
Oh, if you aren't up to.
Attention, everybody! Alarm! Abu Hassan, the bandit, loots town and escapes. Last seen headed that-a-way.
Oh, which away?
That-a-way.
Oh. Whoa. All the arms. All hands on deck. Clear the deck for action. Hey, this ain't nothing for women. We're out hunting bandits. Sealant 0, Visica Pelagi, Lero. Maybe we better try across the street, huh? Skip the gutter. Maybe I should trade this in. Something is definitely wrong. I'm right, it's wrong. I wish there was a boardwalk on this beach, huh? If I had some bread, I'd make a sandwich if I had a witch.
Food. Oh, a bitter disappointment.
Oh, Wimpy. Would you care to join us, young fellow, huh? You know, that...
Oh dear, the movers will be here
gonna get a truck in there, pal?
Just leaves it to me, chum. Okay, back her in.
Gosh, I'll never get through packing. Oh, the movers. Come right in, boys.
It's a pleasure to move a beautiful doll like you, babe.
But I haven't finished packing yet.
That's all right, miss. I'll pack for you.
Oh, thank you.
There you are. Dishes all packed.
Oh, you're a fast one.
Oh, yeah? Watch me pack.
Oh, you're wonderful.
Why, that little show-off. Get a load of this, babe.
What a man!
Why, that dirty double-crosser.
I sure got rid of that runt.
Bravo! Bravo! You're Superman!
Okay, wise guy. Catch that. And that. And that.
You're terrific!
The bite did finish, 'cause I ate me spinach. I'm Popeye the moving man.
Okay, coming back, coming back. So I think I got it working. Here's what I got so far. So you can see here, I have got some redefined characters there. See that? I'm zooming in. So I'm just changing the little RAM card's definition here. So he's walking. He's doing his little chip walk. The way this code works is I change character 143. And character 143 is this character right here. That is 143. And then I change it again after 750 milliseconds, which is 3/4 of a second. I change it again, but to different codes, see? And that gives it that alternating flash. And then I wait another 700 milliseconds, and then I loop around. So it's going around and around and around in this loop while I set it. So that is character redefinition by hand. So I drew this on paper, and I converted it into codes, and then I ran it on the computer, and my program worked. So that's pretty good. This is something you could type in, and I'm thinking later on today on the website I'll post a little link to a PDF you can print out and type this in yourself, or something like it. Cool. All right, great. Well, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your interest in our new website, Club Compy. And I guess we're in bonus territory, so I did have one other thing that we can watch, but I'm going to sign off, and that is a book reading. So I hope you enjoy that, and have a great day. Bye now. Under Drake's Flag by G.A. Henty, written in 1883. And this particular book was taken off of archive.org and has some really beautiful woodcuts on some of the pages to look at. So the title is Under Drake's Flag, A Tale of the Spanish Main by G.A. Henty. And it was published by Blackie & Son in London. Under Drake's Flag, Chapter 1, The Wreck on the Devon Coast. It was a stormy morning on the month of May, 1572, and the fishermen of the little village of Westport, situate about 5 miles from Plymouth, clustered in the public house of the place, and discussed, not the storm, for that was a common topic, but the fact that Master Francis Drake, whose ships lay now at Plymouth, was visiting the Squire of Treadwood, had passed through the village overnight, and might go through it again today. There was not one of the hardy fishermen there, but would gladly have joined Drake's expedition, for marvelous tales had been told of the great booty which he and other well-known captains had already obtained from the Dons on the Spanish Main. The number, however, who could go was limited, and even of these the seafaring men were but a small proportion, for in those days, although a certain number of sailors were required to trim the sails and navigate the ship, the strength of the company were the fighting men, who were soldiers by trade, and fought on board ship as if on land. Captain Drake was accompanied by many men of good Devon blood, for that country was then ahead of all England in its enterprise and seamanship, and no captain of name or repute ever had any difficulty in getting together a band of adventurers from the sturdy population of her shores. "I went over myself last week," said a finely built young sailor, "and I prayed the captain on my knees to take me on board, but he said the tally had been full long ago, and that so many were the applicants that Master Drake and himself had sworn a great oath that they would take none beyond those already engaged.
I would have gone myself,
said a grizzly, weather-beaten old sailor,
if they would have had me. There was Will Trelawney, who went on such another expedition as this, and came back with more bags of Spanish dollars than he could carry. Truly they are a gold mine, these western seas. But even better than getting gold is the thrashing of those haughty Spaniards, who seem to look upon themselves as gods, and on all others as fit only to clean their worship's boots.
They cannot fight neither, can they? Asked a young sailor.
They can fight, boy, and have fought well as we could, but somehow they cannot stand against us in those seas. Whether it is that the curse of the poor natives, whom they kill, enslave, and ill-treat in every way, rises against them, and takes away their courage and their nerve, but certain it is that when our little craft lay alongside their big galleons, fight as they will, the battle is as good as over. Nothing less than 4-1 at the very least has any chance against our buccaneers.
They'll ill-treat those that fall into their hands, do they not?
Aye, do they, said the old sailor. They tear off their flesh with hot pincers, wrench out their nails, and play all sorts of devil's games. And then, at last, they burn what is left of them in the marketplaces. I have heard tell of fearsome tales, lad, but the Spaniards outwit themselves. Were our men to have fair treatment as prisoners of war, it may be that the Spaniards would often be able to hold their own against us. But the knowledge that if we are taken this horrible fate is certain to be ours, makes our men fight with a desperate fury, and never to give in as long as one is left. This it is that accounts for the wonderful victories which we have gained there. He would be a coward indeed who would not fight with thumbscrews and a bonfire behind him. It is said that the Queen and her ministers favor, though not openly, these adventures. She cannot do it openly, said the old man, for here in Europe we are at peace with Spain, worse luck.
How is it, then, that if we are at peace here, we can be at war in the Indian seas?
That is more than I can tell thee, lad. I guess the Queen's writ runs not so far as that, and while her Majesty's commands must be obeyed, and the Spanish flag suffered to pass unchallenged on these seas, on the Spanish Main there are none such to keep the peace, and the Don and the Englishman go at each other's throats as a thing of nature.
The storm is rising, methinks. It is not often I have heard the wind howl more loudly. It is well that the adventurers have not yet started. It would be bad for any craft caught in the channel today. As he spoke, he looked from the casement. Several people were hurrying towards the beach.
Something is the matter, lads. Maybe a ship is driving on the rocks even now.
Seizing their hats and cloaks, the party sallied out and hurried down to the shore. There they saw a large ship driving in before the wind into the bay. She was making every effort that seamanship could suggest to beat clear of the head, but the sailors saw at once that her case was hopeless.
She will go on to the Black Shoal to a certainty, the old sailor said, and then may God have mercy on their souls.
Can we do nothing to help them? A woman standing near asked.
No, no, the sailor said. We could not launch a boat in the teeth of this tremendous sea. All we can do is look out and throw a line to any who may be washed ashore on a spar when she goes to pieces.
Presently, a group of men whose dress belonged to the upper class moved down through the street to the beach.
Aye, there's Mr. Trevelyan,
said the sailor.
and the gentleman behind him is Captain Drake himself.
The group moved on to where the fishermen were standing.
Is there no hope, they asked, of helping the ship?
The seamen shook their heads. "You will see for yourself, Master Drake, that no boat could live in such a sea as this." "It could not put out from here," the captain said. "But if they could lower one from the ship, it might live until it got into the breakers." "Aye, aye," said the sailor, "but there is no lowering a boat from a ship which has begun to beat on the Black Shoal." "Another minute and she will strike," the old sailor said. All gazed intently at the ship. The whole population of the village were now on the shore, and were eager to render any assistance, if it were possible. In another minute or two, a general cry announced that the ship had struck. Rising high on a wave, she came down with a force which caused her main mast at once to go over the side. Another lift on the next sea, and then high and fast she was jammed on the rocks of the Black Shoal. The distance from shore was but small, not more than 300 yards, and the shouts of the sailors on board could be heard in the storm. "Why does not one of them jump over with a rope?" Captain Drake said impatiently. "Are the men all cowards, or can none of them swim? It would be easy to swim from that ship to the shore, while it is next to impossible for anyone to make his way out through these breakers. Is there no one who can reach them from here?" he said, looking round. "No one among us, your honor," the old sailor said. "Few here can keep themselves up in the water in a calm sea. But if man or boy could swim through that surf, it is the lad who is just coming down from behind us. The otter, as we call him, for he seems to be able to live in water as well as on land." The lad of whom they were speaking was a bright-faced boy of some 15 years of age. He was squarely built, and his dress differed a little from that of the fisher lads standing on the beach. "Who is he?" asked Captain Drake. "He is the son of the schoolmaster here, a learned man, and they do say one who was once wealthy. The lad himself would fain go to sea, but his father keeps him here. It is a pity, for he is a bold boy, and would make a fine sailor." The otter, as he had been called, had now come down to the beach, and with his hands shading his eyes from the spray, sheets of which the wind carried along with blinding force, he gazed at the ship and the sea with a steady intentness. "I think I can get out to her," he said to the fisherman. "It is madness, boy," Captain Drake said. "There are few men indeed, so far as I know, in these climes, I talk not of the heathens of the Western Islands, who could swim through a breaking sea like yonder." "I think I can do it," the boy said quietly. "I have been out in as heavy seas before, and if one does but choose one's time and humor them a bit, the waves are not much to be feared at all." "Get me the light line," he said to one of the sailors, "and I will be off at once." So saying, he carelessly threw off his clothes. The fisherman brought a light line, one end they fastened round his shoulders, and with a cheerful goodbye he ran down to the water's edge. The sea was breaking with tremendous violence, and the chance of the lads getting out through the breakers appeared slight indeed. He watched, however, quietly for 3 or 4 minutes, when a wave larger than usual broke on the beach. Following it out, he stood knee-deep until the next great wave advanced. Then with a plunge he dived in beneath it. It seemed an age before he was again seen, and Captain Drake expressed his fear that his head must have been dashed against a rock beneath the water. But the men said, "He dives like a duck, sir, and has often frighted us by the time he keeps under water. You will see he will come up beyond the second line of waves." It seemed an age to the watchers before a black spot appeared suddenly beyond the foaming line of breakers. There was a general shout of, "There he is!" But they had scarce time to note the position of the swimmer when he again disappeared. Again and again he came up, each time rapidly decreasing the distance between himself and the shipwrecked vessel, and keeping his head above the waves for a few seconds only at each appearance. The people in the vessel were watching the progress of the lad with even greater than was manifested by those on shore. And as he approached the ship, which already showed signs of breaking up, a line was thrown to him. He caught it, but instead of holding on and being lifted to the ship, he fastened the light rope which he had brought out to it, and made signs to them to haul. "Fasten a thicker rope to it," he shouted. and they will haul it in from the shore." It would have been no easy matter to get on board the ship, so having done his work, the lad turned to make his way back to the shore. A thick rope was fastened at once by those of the crew who still remained on the deck of the vessel to the lighter one, and those on shore began to pull it rapidly in. But ere the knotted joint reached the shore, a cry from all gathered on the beach showed that the brave attempt of the otter had been useless. A tremendous sea had struck the ship, and in a moment it broke up, and a number of the floating fragments alone showed where a fine vessel had a few minutes before floated on the sea. The lad paused in his course toward the shore, and, looking round, he endeavored to face the driving wind and spray in hopes that he might see among the fragments of the wreck someone to whom his assistance might be of use. For a time he could see no signs of a human being among the floating masses of wreck, and indeed he was obliged to use great caution in keeping away from these, as a blow from any of the larger spars might have been fatal. Presently close to him he heard a short muffled bark, and looking round he saw a large dog with a child in its mouth. The animal, which was of the mastiff breed, appeared already exhausted. The otter looked hastily around, and seeing a piece of wreck of suitable size, he seized it, and with some difficulty succeeded in bringing it close to the dog. Fortunately, the spar was a portion of one of the yards, and still had a quantity of rope connected to it. He now took hold of the child's clothes, the dog readily yielding up the treasure he had carried, seeing that the newcomer was likely to afford better assistance than himself. In a few moments the child was fastened to the spar, and the otter began steadily to push it towards the shore. The dog, swimming alongside, evidently much relieved at getting rid of his burden. When he neared the line of breakers, the lad waved his hand as a sign to them to prepare to rush forward and lend a hand when the spar approached. He then paddled forward quietly, and keeping just outside the line of breakers, waved to those on shore to throw, if possible, a rope. Several attempts were made to hurl a stone fastened to the end of a light line within his reach. After many failures, he at last caught the line. This he fastened to the spar and signaled to those on shore to pull it in. Then, side by side with the dog, he followed. Looking round behind him, he watched a great breaker rolling in and, as before, dived as it passed over his head, and rowed forward on the swell toward the shore. Then there was a desperate struggle. At one moment his feet touched the ground. At another he was hauled back and tossed into the whirling sea, sometimes almost losing his consciousness, but ever keeping his head cool and striving steadily to make progress. Several times he was dashed against the beach with great force, and it was his knowledge that the only way of approaching shore through a heavy surf is to keep sideways to the waves and allow them to roll one over and over that he escaped death. For had he advanced straight toward the shore, the force of the waves would have rolled him heels over head, and he would almost certainly have broken his neck. At last, just as consciousness was leaving him, and he thought that he could struggle no more, a hand grasped his arm. The fishermen, joining hand in hand, had gone down to the surf, and after many ineffectual efforts, had at last seized him as a retiring wave was carrying him out again for the 5th time. With the consciousness of rescue, all feeling left him, and it was some minutes before he recovered his senses. His first question was for the safety of the child on the spar, and he was glad to hear that it had come to shore without hurt. The dog, too, had been rolled up on the beach and seized before taken off again, but had broken one of its legs. The otter was soon on his feet again, and saying, "I must make my way home, they will be alarmed about me," was about to turn away when a group of gentlemen standing near advanced. "You are a fine lad," one of them said to him, "a fine lad, and an honor to the south of Devonshire. My name is Francis Drake, and if there aught be that I can do for you, now or hereafter, I shall be glad indeed to do my utmost for so gallant a youth as yourself." "Oh, sir!" the boy exclaimed, his cheek flushing with excitement. "If you are Master Francis Drake, Will you let me join your ship for the voyage to the Indies? Ah, my boy, the gentleman said, you have asked the only thing, perhaps, which I should feel obliged to refuse you. Already we have more than our number, and to avoid the importunity of the many who wish to go, or of my powerful friends who desire to place sons or relations in my charge, I have been obliged to swear that I would take no other sailor in addition to those already shipped. You are, however, young, he said, as he marked the change in the boy's face, and I promise you that if I come back and again sail on an expedition like that on which I now start, that you shall be one of my crew. What is your name, lad? I hear them call you Otter, and truly the beast is no better swimmer than you are. My name, sir, is Ned Hearn. My father's the schoolmaster here. Will he consent, think you, to your taking to a seafaring life? Methinks he will, sir. He knows that my heart is set upon it, for he hath often said if I loved my lessons with 1/10 of the love I bear for the sea, I should make a good scholar and be a credit to him. I will not forget you, lad. Trust me, and when you hear of my return, fail not to send a reminder and to claim a place in my next adventure. Ned Hearn, delighted at this assurance, ran off at full speed to the cottage where his father resided at the end of the village. The domine, who was an old man, wore the huge tortoise-shell-rimmed spectacles of the time. "Wet again," he said, as his son burst into the room in which he was sitting, studying a Greek tome. "Truly, thou earnest the name of which thou art so proud, Otter. Hardly. What tempted thee to go into the water on a day like this?" Ned briefly explained what had taken place. The story was no unusual one, for this was the third time that he had swum out to vessels on the rocks between Westport and Plymouth. Then he related to his father how Captain Francis Drake had spoken to him and praised him, and how he had promised that, on his next trip to the West Indies, he would take him with him. "I would not have you count too much upon that," the domine said dryly. "It is like, indeed, that he may never come back from this harebrained adventure, and if he brings home his skin safe, he will, methinks, have had enough of burning in the sun and fighting the Spaniards." "But hath he not already made 2 or 3 voyages thither, father?" the boy asked. "That is true enough," said his father, "but from what I gather, these were mere trips to spy out the land. This affair on which he starts now will be, I wot, a very different matter." "How is it, father?" the boy said on the following morning, resuming the conversation from the point at which they were when he went up to change his wet clothes the day before. "That when England is at peace with Spain, our sailors and the Spanish do fight bloodily in the West Indies." "That, my son, is a point upon which the Roman law telleth us nothing. I have in my shelves some very learned treatises on war, but in none do I find mention of a state of things in which 2 powers at peace at home do fight desperately at the extreme end of the earth. But, father, do you think it not lawful to kill the Spaniard, and to take the treasures with which he robbeth from the poor heathen of the West?" "I know not about lawful, my son, but I see no warrant whatsoever for it. And as for heathen, indeed, it appears to me that the attacks upon him do touch very closely upon piracy upon the high seas. However, as the country in general appeareth to approve of it, and as it is said that the Queen's most gracious majesty doth gladly hear of the beating of the Spaniards in those seas, it becometh not me to question the rights of the case." "At any rate, father, you would not object when the time comes for me to sail with Mr. Francis Drake?" "No, my boy, thou hast never shown any aptitude whatsoever for learning. Thou canst read and write, but beyond that thy knowledge runneth not. Your mind seems to be set on the water, and when you are not in it, you are on it. Therefore it appears to me to be flying in the face of Providence to try to keep you on shore. Had your poor mother lived, it would have been a different thing. Her mind was set upon your becoming a clerk. But there, one might as well try to make a silk purse from the ear of a sow." But I tell you again, count not too much upon this promise. It may be years before Mr. Francis Drake may be in a position to keep it. Had Ned Hearn watched for Captain Drake's second voyage, he would indeed, as his father had said, waited long. 3 days after the conversation, however, a horseman from Plymouth rode into the little village and inquired for the house of Master Hearn. Being directed thither, he rode up in haste to the gate. "Here is a letter," he cried, "for the son of the schoolmaster who goes by the name of Otter." "I am he," Ned cried. "What is it, and who can have written to me?" "It is a letter from his honor, the worshipful Mr. Francis Drake." Seizing the letter, Ned broke the seal, read a few lines, threw his cap in the air with a shout of joy, and rushed into his father. "Father," he said, "Captain Drake has written to acquaint me that one of the boys in this ship is taken ill and cannot go, and that it has pleased him to appoint me to go in his place, and that I am to be at Plymouth in 3 days at the utmost, bringing with me what gear I may require for the expedition." The schoolmaster was a little taken aback at this sudden prospect of departure. But he had always been wholly indulgent to his son, and it was not in his nature to refuse to allow him to avail himself of an opportunity which appeared to be an excellent one. The danger of these expeditions was no doubt very great, but the spoils were in proportion, and there was not a boy or man of seafaring population of Devon who would not gladly have gone with the adventurous captains.